Shalom, shalom. I give all the honor, glory, and praise to YAHAWASHI, QADASH. Double honors to my elders at Great Milestone who rule well, singing honors to the elect, peace and blessings to the one-third, and confusion of faces in the four corners of the earth. Shalom. This video is going to be in response to how a so-called Chinese woman, who will be known as a Moabite in the Bible, is speaking against how so-called white man, woman, and child who are Edomites are saying how the world is blessed because of the inventions that are here, going back to them not making any account for our labor, so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, who heavily contributed to the modern day invention today. Just go online, look up blackinventors.com. And just because it says black inventors doesn't mean that there aren't northern tribes that's also inside that list. But nonetheless, though, I'm going to let her speak, and I'm going to make a few key points, and we're going to get right to the nooks and crannies of it all. Shalom.
Yes, but blessed is not a word that the global majority thinks of in association with Europeans. Words like plague and colonizer, maybe, but not blessed.
Well, technically, Esau is blessed, right? Genesis 27:32. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. Understand what happened between Esau and Jacob. Jacob was supposed to get the blessing because Esau gave it to his brother for red meat and lentils, right? Jacob supplant, that's what Jacob stands for, supplanted his father Isaac by getting the blessing with his mother's help by wearing the hide that resembled Esau, right? And he smelled like Esau. So anyway, let's get to it. Verse 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. Blessed. Remember that word that she said? And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety and have taken away thy blessing. Hence his name is Jacob, which means supplant. Verse 38, and Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Now, this goes back to me saying, well, technically she was wrong, because Esau is blessed, but this is his blessing. Verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. What does that mean? You will rule the world. Job 9:24. Verse 40, and by the sword, which brings death, so by what? Killing, rape, robbing, and murdering, and really the military. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So what is Esau's blessing? His military and ruling the world. So yes, technically they are blessed, but not from the inventions that we created. They just patented it.
The cell phone in my hand came from China. So I don't know if you're referencing Steve Jobs or Martin Cooper or the Finnish inventor who created the first pocket-sized telecommunication device in 1917, and you probably don't know either because your education system has left you terribly ignorant and without the critical thinking skills necessary to effectively gather information. Because you believe that most great inventions can be attributed to one white person, as opposed to recognizing that the patent system is how white people colonize intellectual property.
You're right.
We would not have cell phones if it wasn't for the creation of the gamma electrical cell by black inventor Henry T. Sampson. And most of our cell phones would not have microphones in them if it wasn't for the particular microphone that was created by black inventor James Edward West. The creation of the first digital network, 1G, was launched in Japan, and then black electrical engineer Jesse Russell pioneered the creation of 2G, which launched in Finland first. 3G launched in Japan, 4G launched in Norway, 5G launched in South Korea, and 30% of the world's cell phones are manufactured in China. Because we, of the global majority, recognize that collective humanity has the ingenuity and creativity of one another to thank, whereas a lot of European Americans are laboring under the delusion that the rest of us have white people to thank.
And I absolutely agree with her. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make it seem as if Ammon, so-called Japanese, or the Moabites which would be the so-called Chinese, didn't contribute at all. Remember, those are actually Lot's children. Those are Abraham's his nephew's children, right? So nonetheless, though, yeah, they contributed, but it really stems back to the so-called white man Esau, Edom, being in the position they are globally because of us, the Hebrew Israelites, going into captivity, and they made no account of our labors, right? Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. So even she will acknowledge our labor and our contribution to the world. But Esau will say, for one, we created the phone. For two, y'all didn't create anything. And it takes, I want to say, forgive me, she could be a Moabite woman to bring that forth. And she speaks eloquently too as well. Even the way she throw little jabs at Esau, she used wisdom and wits about it. It's beautiful. Sirach 41, verse 5-7. The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. Just like she was saying, you would say that not all white people, so to say, was not for slavery, or was not, having slaves or whatnot, but you still will want to take on and reap the benefits of the contributions that your people didn't even contribute to, yet benefited from. So you will complain of an ungodly father, but then you'll be quick to say that we made your life better. Yeah, okay.
And it's this narcissistic ignorance that causes people like you to do embarrassing things, like leaving comments about Europeans and cell phones on a video about systemic anti-black racism in the United States. And while that could be written off as a comedic and senile non sequitur, we recognize it as a desperate attempt to center yourself in a conversation that has nothing to do with you.
Who hurt you?
The irony being that white people like to say not all white people and they shouldn't be held accountable for the misdeeds of their ancestors, yet they want to be associated with the greatness of the things that they think they invented.